Session 4, Your Subconscious Powerhouse.
In order to unlock your full potential, it's absolutely essential that you understand the relationship between the conscious and the subconscious mind. There are thousands of books have been written on this subject. There's tremendous complexities. There's references to the conscious and the subconscious, especially the subconscious, throughout all of human history. The subconscious is often called the powerhouse of your being. And we're going to talk about how you affect the subconscious more as we go through this program. But let's start off talking about the relationship between the two minds and what you can do to begin controlling and changing the programming within the subconscious. The conscious and the subconscious minds are very beautifully designed by a master designer, if you know what I mean, in that they have very separate functions and they work perfectly in tandem with each other. Probably a good way to illustrate it is to say this is the conscious mind and this is the subconscious mind. Actually, the conscious mind does about 10% of your thinking. It's responsible for about 10% of your conscious awareness, and the subconscious mind is at least 90% or more. When we talk about human potential and unlocking human potential, we mean unlocking the vast capacity or power of the subconscious. So what does the conscious mind do? Well, the conscious mind has certain specific functions. First of all, the conscious mind is objective. The conscious mind can look at the world clearly, if you like, with clarity, and think about it analytically, objective by meaning without emotion. Second of all, the objective mind, or the conscious mind, is rational. And it is also discriminating. These are three of the qualities. In other words, it can discern the differences between truth and falsehood. It can analyze. It is sort of like the mathematical or unemotional part of the brain. The conscious mind has four major functions. The first function is that the conscious mind identifies incoming data. Now, incoming data can come from a variety of different sources. It can be thoughts that you have, or it can be things that are happening to you in the external world. So let us say you're walking across the street. This is your mind. You're walking across the street and you hear the roar of an automobile engine. Your eyes immediately turn to the right to see what the sound is and to identify what is that sound. When you see the automobile, you identify, you attach the sound to the car. The second thing that the conscious mind does is it compares that moving automobile to all other moving automobiles of your experience. Now, if you live in a big city like New York, when you see a car and you compare that moving automobile with other cars, you've seen 100,000, maybe 1 million cars moving, and your reflexes are very, very sharp. If you live in a country that doesn't have very many automobiles, chances are when you see a moving vehicle, your reflexes will be very, very slow. The comparison is done by, if you like, making a quick inspection into the subconscious and checking every single previous experience that you've had with moving cars. As that is done, as the comparison is done, you instantaneously get a response back. As a matter of fact, it is said that the subconscious functions at about 30,000 times the speed of the conscious mind, in that you can just have one glance, hear one noise, or think one thought in the conscious mind, and you can instantly trigger a reaction that might take an enormous amount, hours and hours of evaluation if you were to do it consciously. The third function of the conscious mind is that it analyzes. Once it has a response back in its comparison, it analyzes the situation. You're walking across the street, you hear the sound of the automobile engine, you turn eyes right, you see the car moving down at you. Your comparison tells you that that car is moving at a speed of 50 miles an hour, and it will be where you are in 1 second unless you move. So you now analyze and you say, what do I do? Should I move or not? And if the answer is yes, what you do is you move. And that takes us to the fourth function of the conscious mind, which is to decide. The conscious mind decides what to do after the analysis. It says yes or no. The conscious mind functions like a binary computer. It is always saying yes or no to incoming information. And the conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time. Now, this is really amazing, as you're going to see. It's really a brilliant structure. So you're walking across the street, you hear the sound, you look to the right, you see the car moving. The comparison says that that car is moving on you. The analysis of the moving car says you've got to get out of the way. So you say, do I move, yes or no? Answer, yes. Do I move forward, yes or no? Answer, no. Do I move backward, yes or no? And as soon as you say, yes, I move backward, and you convey this word yes, to the subconscious mind instantly triggers all the muscles, all the nerves, all the sinews, all the tissues to move yourself back out of the way. You don't have to sit there and think, well, should I move my right foot first? Should I move my left foot first? All you do is send a signal to the conscious mind backed by a charge, if you like, or a detonation of emotion. And the stronger the emotion, the more instantaneously the subconscious responds to your command. The subconscious is activated by emotion. Emotion of fear, emotion of desire, the survival instinct, the love instinct, but it is always an emotion that triggers the subconscious. Okay, what are some of the features of the subconscious mind? The subconscious mind is like a massive data bank. As a massive data bank, the role of the subconscious is to store and retrieve data. In other words, the subconscious mind is the subjective mind, in that it simply is the mind that obeys. Just as the conscious mind commands, the subconscious mind obeys. The subconscious mind has no thought of its own. By the way, the conscious mind has no memory. The subconscious mind is the seat of all memory. The conscious mind, remember, can only hold one thought at a time, whereas you can remember millions of facts. The relationship between the conscious and the subconscious is the conscious is like a gardener, and the subconscious is like a garden. Whatever seeds you plant in your subconscious mind, the subconscious mind goes to work to grow. In the subconscious mind, you have a whole series of different programs, the self-concept, which contains all the information on all the subjects that are important to you and all of your previous experiences and responses to those situations, so that if you have a new situation similar to it, one of the roles of the subconscious is to keep your behaviors consistent with your previous behaviors. So that if you've always been fearful in a situation, you see the situation, you'll instantaneously be fearful without thought. If you're in a situation that you don't know anything about, the natural tendency is for you to be neither fearful nor unfearful, because you don't know enough until you build up an experience bank. And this brings us to three critical laws. Three of the most important mental laws that we talked about. Remember, we talked about how your whole life is determined by mental laws. The first of these three mental laws is the law of subconscious activity. The law of subconscious activity says that whatever you plant into your subconscious mind, it immediately goes to work to bring into your reality. And your subconscious mind makes all your words and actions, it makes all your words and actions fit a pattern consistent with your self-concept. In other words, it keeps all your words and actions in a pattern, fit a pattern consistent with your self-concept, or consistent with all previous information that you have put in. Also, it keeps your words and actions consistent with your dominant goals, which eventually, if you like, become part of your self-concept. So that means that your body language, your attitude, your level of energy, your level of self-confidence, the way you get along with other people, your social skills, everything is consistent with your self-concept. The subconscious, simply without you thinking about it at all, keeps everything consistent with it. So when you feel really good, when your self-concept is positive, you have a bounce in your step. Your body language is confident, it's courageous, it's outgoing, and so on. And when you feel negative, your self-concept is negative, and you will act in the same manner. Which brings us to our second law. The second law is the law of concentration. Actually, this is the ninth law that we've talked about since we began. The law of concentration is very, very, very important. It's so important, as a matter of fact, each of these laws is so important in their place as to be enough in themselves to control your destiny. The law of concentration simply says this. It says that whatever you dwell upon grows. Whatever you dwell upon grows. Whatever you think about over and over again grows in your reality. It's very simple. I used to do a course on creative thinking, and the way that you explain it is you imagine that this is the total mental capacity that you have. And when you send a thought into this, it takes up this amount of space, and all the rest of the mental capacity is used to, this is your thought, is used to think about all of the other things in your mind. But the more you think, from the conscious down to the subconscious, the more of your mental capacity is committed to thinking about this one idea. until you reach a point where if you dwell upon something consistently, you reach a point where you think of nothing else. And as you think of nothing else, you begin to set up this vibratory field. The subconscious mind is the core of the law of attraction and the law of vibration and the law of radiation. You begin to set up this vibratory field that sends out thought energy from you consistent with what you are thinking about and draws back into your life people and circumstances in harmony with those thoughts. So you just have to look around you and you have to say, what are you thinking about all the time? What are you dwelling on all the time? And the basic rule with regard to the law of concentration is to dwell upon, think about what you want to happen, not about what you fear. And this brings us to the third law in this series, and that is the law of substitution. Now, the law of substitution, I've had many of my graduates tell me this has been the most important law they've ever learned. It's a very simple law, and it's based on a fact that the conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time, positive or negative. If you want to get rid of a negative thought, the mind is not like a vacuum. It doesn't stay empty. If you want to get rid of a negative thought, you have to knock it out, if you like, with a positive thought. Is that you can replace one thought with another. You can replace one thought with another. And if you do that consistently, and if you replace any negative thought, any fear thought, any anxiety thought, any self-limiting thought, any negative expectations, anything that's holding you back, any fear of failure, lack, poverty, rejection, loss, or anything else, if you replace it with a desire thought, and this is the key, fear versus desire. If you keep your mind on what you want and keep it off of what you don't want, as you dwell on your desire, your fears diminish and get smaller. As you think about what you want, eventually, because of the law of substitution, you have less and less time, less and less emotion to think about what you don't want. Why is it that people are successful? It's simply this. In the Bible it says, to them that hath shall more be given, and from him who hath not, even that which he hath shall be taken away. What it means is simply this. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Why? It's because the rich think about wealth and affluence all the time. And what do the poor think about? The poor think about lack, loss, and limitation, risk, danger, fear, failure all the time. So if you want to unlock your potential, if you want to go straight to the stars, you have to use the law of substitution to keep your mind on what you want. Use the law of concentration to dwell continually on the results you desire. Be solution-centered rather than problem-centered. Be goal-centered rather than loss-centered. And the law of subconscious activity will begin to adjust your words, your actions, your feelings, your emotions, and everything to the point where you will draw into your life the people and circumstances that will harmonize with it. Now, what's the most powerful thing you can do? It's very simply this. Success begins with taking purposeful, systematic control of the content of your conscious mind. Purposeful, systematic control of the content of your conscious mind. Everything comes back to the law of control, as we talked about at the very beginning. Purposeful, systematic control is best taken by saying over and over again, I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. I like myself. When you repeat, I like myself, or better, I love myself over and over again, you drive this thought into the subconscious mind. More and more you think of yourself in positive terms. More and more you push out thoughts of inferiority, negativity, fear, failure, rejection, and so on. More and more you reprogram all previous data in your subconscious computer so that it is consistent with high self-esteem, personal effectiveness, and excellent personal performance. Is that the key to your success in life is to use the power of your subconscious mind to program it with thoughts, words, pictures, ideas, and feelings consistent with high performance, and keep your mind on what you desire and off of what you fear. Remember, the only thing in the world you can control is your thinking. The only thing in the world you can control are your conscious thoughts, and if you will do that, everything else will become possible for you. More and more you reprogram all previous data in your subconscious computer so that it is consistent with high self-esteem, personal effectiveness, and excellent personal performance. is that the key to your success in life is to use the power of your subconscious mind to program it with thoughts, words, pictures, ideas, and feelings consistent with high performance, and keep your mind on what you desire and off of what you fear. Remember, the only thing in the world you can control is your thinking. The only thing in the world you can control are your conscious thoughts, and if you will do that, everything else will become possible for you.